The recent gatherings of Pope Leo XIV have unsettled Catholics everywhere, filling them with questions and doubts across the world. Faithful believers are asking what is really happening inside the Vatican. These are not ordinary encounters. The Pope's meetings with figures such as James Martin and Sister Maria Lucia Karam carry deep meaning. They are not small gestures, but heavy signs that many interpret as wounds being opened. Within the Church, Catholics who love their faith deeply are now wondering if the foundations of Catholic teaching are being shaken right before their eyes. James Martin's meeting was far from casual. It was not a last-minute addition to the Pope's agenda. James Martin is not just another priest who passes through Rome for years. He has stood at the center of controversy, dividing opinion within the Catholic world. Some admire him, calling him a gifted communicator who reaches audiences in ways many others cannot. They consider him one of the most visible priests in the world today. But for many others, his words are dangerous. They believe he spreads confusion, blurs clear doctrine, and opens doors that should remain closed. So when Pope Leo XIV invited James Martin for a private audience, Catholics everywhere saw it as far more than a polite gesture. To many, it looked like acceptance. It looked like endorsement. They read it as a sign that the Pope himself might be giving legitimacy to ideas that the Church has always rejected. This concern grew sharper when people remembered the Pope's past refusals. Not long ago, even the American ambassador, by tradition, should have been received in person by the Pope, yet Leo declined, sending an assistant in his place. That refusal had sent a strong signal. It showed that the Pope could be firm when he wished. So why now? Why extend his hand to James Martin? And then came another named Sister Maria Lucia Karam. Though not known worldwide, she is famous across Spain and Europe for her outspoken and controversial views. She has publicly denied the perpetual virginity of the Virgin Mary. She has called for blessings on all kinds of unions, regardless of what the Church teaches. She has said openly that neither God nor the Church should interfere with decisions against life. These are not passing comments, but repeated positions that many theologians describe as heresy. And yet, Pope Leo XIV received her personally, offering her an honor denied too many priests and bishops who remain faithful to doctrine. This is what so many Catholics cannot understand. Why welcome someone who so openly opposes the central truths of the faith, while others who defend doctrine are left aside? The way these meetings were recorded only deepens the mystery. The Vatican publishes a daily bulletin listing every papal audience. But strangely, neither the meeting with James Martin nor the one with Sister Karam appeared there. It was as if they had been hidden. Hours later, however, official Vatican outlets released photographs of the meetings, stamped with their watermark. It was a strange contradiction: silence in writing, but publicity in pictures. Why conceal on one side and display on the other? For many believers, this contradiction speaks louder than words. If the Pope's purpose was to correct these figures, why hide it? Why not make it public so the faithful could understand it as a moment of guidance? Instead, the photos suggested closeness and approval. They gave the impression of friendship, not correction, and this impression has deeply troubled Catholics. Deacon Nick Donnelly in England did not hold back. He said the meeting with Sister Karam was even worse than the one with James Martin. He argued that receiving a nun who denies Mary's virginity and promotes practices against life is not a simple mistake. It is, in his view, the legitimization of heresy itself. To him, the Vatican photographs looked like a seal of approval, a wordless endorsement from the Pope. Faithful Catholics cannot ignore what they see. They were taught that doctrine does not change, that truth is non-negotiable, and that heresy must be resisted, not welcomed. But now they see figures who contradict the faith being honored, while defenders of tradition are silenced or even removed. It feels like a double standard: punishment for those who cling to truth, and applause for those who undermine it. The silence of Sister Karam after her visit makes the situation even stranger. Usually, she is quick to speak. She posts photos with politicians, shares her opinions freely, and thrives on publicity. But after meeting the Pope, she said nothing. No photos, no proud comments, no interviews. Even the media, which usually echoes her words, remains silent. The sudden quiet feels deliberate, almost as if ordered. Why would someone who craves attention hide one of the biggest moments of her life? And yet, the Vatican released its own photos. If silence was the plan, why publish them at all? Was it a mistake? Was it carefully staged? Nobody knows. What is certain is that the faithful are left with more questions than answers. This secrecy, makes the meetings feel even darker. If the Pope's purpose was to admonish these figures, secrecy destroys the meaning. If the purpose was approval, hiding it at first makes it look manipulative. Either way, trust is weakened. Catholics who gave their lives to the Church now wonder if their shepherd is protecting the flock or opening the gate to wolves. The Church has endured many trials throughout history, persecution in the early centuries, great divisions in the Middle Ages, and painful scandals in modern times. In each crisis, the faithful turned to Rome for clarity. They trusted the Church to speak with light and certainty. But now, they see something different: confusion, contradiction, and silence. They see names missing from bulletins, but faces smiling in photographs. They see leaders who deny doctrine being welcomed, while those who defend the truth are ignored. The faithful are left with heavy hearts. They want to trust their Pope. They want to walk with him. But these recent actions leave them restless, praying and waiting for answers that never come. This unease is not only about personalities, it is about symbols. In Catholic life, symbols speak volumes. A handshake, a meeting, an embrace. These are not neutral. They are read by millions as messages. When the Pope refuses one audience but welcomes another, the entire Church takes notice. And now, the signs point in a direction many do not understand, and even fewer can accept. James Martin has long been described as someone who blurs the boundaries of teaching. He mixes compassion with compromise, mercy with ambiguity. Some say he is drawing people closer to the Church, but others fear he is leading them away from truth. Sister Karam is even more direct, dismissing ancient teachings as if they were outdated opinions. Denying Mary's virginity is not a small remark. It strikes at the very heart of Catholic devotion. For the faithful, this is a sacred truth defended for centuries. To hear it denied so casually, and then to see that person welcomed by the Pope, is shocking. The Vatican bulletin's silence only increases suspicion. People notice when things are missing. They sense when something is being hidden. And when those same meetings later appear in official photographs, the faithful feel played with, as though truth itself were being managed like a performance. This is why Catholics now ask hard questions. If the Pope wants transparency, why so much secrecy? If he wants clarity, why so many contradictions? If he wants to correct error, why do his gestures look like endorsement? These questions echo everywhere from parishes and homes to prayer groups and online discussions. The contradiction is not new, but it feels sharper now. Priests and bishops who defend doctrine often face punishment or removal. Those who challenge it are given attention and honor. This double standard has created a deep wound. It feels like the ground beneath the faithful is crumbling. Voices of sorrow are rising. Priests, theologians, and lay people alike are saying this is not just confusion anymore, it is scandal. And in the Church, scandal means something that shakes souls, weakens faith, and leads some into doubt or even despair. That is the deepest wound. The faithful, who once turned to Rome for strength, now see gestures that leave them unsettled. They wonder if their shepherd is feeding the flock or leading it astray. And so, Catholics continue to pray. They know the Church has faced storms before, and they trust Christ's promise that his Church will endure. But knowing this does not erase the pain. Seeing leaders honor those who deny what is most sacred breaks hearts. This sadness comes not from hate, but from love for the Church, love for the Pope, love for the faith handed down through generations. They do not want conflict with their shepherd. They want to walk with him. But when his path seems to clash with truth, they are torn between loyalty and doctrine. And in that painful tension, trust begins to fade.